children of Olutomole. It is another wonderful time again. This is still your program, A Moment with Our Priest. And by God's special grace, we want to continue in our class again today. I believe you have pondered on those wonderful and interesting topic. The lesson we had in our last class. And it's still on the same topic, the holy worship of God. In last lesson, we are able to understand the reason why God created man in his image. We were able to understand that God created man in his image, number one, in order for man to be a true worshiper of him. God wanted to have people who will worship him. And for us to worship God, God demands that only those that are able to be in his divine nature, in his likeness, are the only one eligible to offer unto him true and holy worship. And this is why he has created man, in order for man to be true worshippers of him. And we are able to also understand another reason why we are all made in the image of God is for us to be able to demonstrate, exhibit, and manifest those divine nature of God. God wants to be represented in the flesh. He wants man to be a representative of him on earth. That is, wherever you find a man, you have found God. That is what God wants our world to look like, where everyone will be there to exhibit the divine nature of God. And then we know that our world will be like heaven, where there is peace, joy, tranquility, and all good things will be experienced on earth, because everyone will be a substantial representative of God. This is one of the reasons why the another comforter, Olutomole Agbaye, has been sent to restore all man back to that spiritual state of origin, where man can again be like his creator, God. And brethren, we want to continue in our class again today, still talking about the same topic, that is holy worship. But this time around, lesson number 2 from our handout. I believe you have your handout with you again today. And that area we'll be looking at is lesson number 2, which focus on the worshiping animals. Now we are looking at worshiping animals, still on that wonderful topic, worship of God. God has created beasts, created animals, terrestrial animals, created the aquatic animals, those that fly, the birds, and every other creature. He created everyone. Everyone is animal. Even scientifically, man is regarded as higher animal. We are all in that state. God has created everyone. But the distinctive feature in man, what makes you different from that rat, from that lion, from that animals in the forest, is that you have the ability to worship God. You are a worshiping animal. Man was created in God's image to be a permanent worshiper and a servitor of the Creator God. That is according to the teaching of the Blessed One. This particular idea was extracted from his book, where we understand that God created man in his image in order for man to be a permanent worshiper. That is, worship of God is the essence of our life. To worship God is to realize the purpose for which we are created. So worship of God is a permanent exercise. Worship of God is a continuous exercise as long as you live. The day you stop worshiping God, that you have forfeited the good essence of your creation. The only major relationship that you can maintain with God is when you are still able to offer unto him his holy worship, because that is the reason why he has created you. Christ said it in book of John chapter 4 verse 23. He says, the hour coming when, and now is when the true worshippers shall worship the Father in truth and in spirit. And he went further to say that, for the Father seeketh such to worship him. Father God is seeking for true worshippers to worship him. So worship is a permanent exercise given to every creature of God that are made in his image. So Matthew chapter 4 verse 10 also says, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God all the days of your life, not just for a moment. That's why being a Kaimite is a lifetime, covenant. The main thing you have come to the kingdom of heaven and earth to do is to worship God all the days of your life. So this is the main reason why God has saved you. So worship of God, for the purpose of worship of God, you have to remain a Kaimite forever, because it's a permanent exercise. You are to worship God and to serve Him. Maybe you want to ask me, do I have to be a Kaimite before I worship God? We will get to that level. Why do you have to be a Kaimite for you to be able to worship God in an acceptable way? It is important to note here that the only way by which a man can live acceptable life is to worship his Creator. That should be well understood now. Because you now understand that the main purpose and the reason for creating man is to worship God. So when we talk about acceptable life, it's a life that has fulfilled its purpose. And the only purpose that a man can fulfill is to worship God in an acceptable way. That is where you can actually prove that you are an acceptable one. If you want to be like Koli Tomole, the acceptable one, you have to restore yourself to true worship of God, not just a true worship of God. Like I emphasized, and I wanted to quickly go back to that Matthew. Let's check what is written in book of Matthew chapter 15. Matthew chapter 15. Let me read from verse 7 here. You hypocrites, what did Isaiah prophesy of you? These people draw near me with their mouth and honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. What was Christ emphasizing here? He said, these people draw near me with their mouth. That is, we have people today, they sing song of praises unto God. They assume and believe in the earth that singing those wonderful, powerful, inspiring songs, they have been able to worship God. But Christ is emphasizing something here in this passage. Verse 8 says, their heart is far from me. That heart is the abode of God. That heart is the main place where the divine nature of God is settled and seen and felt. Goes to tell us that only those that have been fully restored to that state of their spiritual origin, to that state of their divine nature, are those from whom God can accept the holy worship. That's why I said in our last lesson that you must be truly regenerated. You must be fully regenerated and assume that divine nature of God again for you to begin to offer acceptable worship unto your creator God. God is holy. You are compelled to be holy because you are created to be holy. You are created to be truthful. You are created to be merciful. You are created to be righteous. You are created to be like God. And when you are in that state, that is when you are eligible to offer acceptable worship. And this is what differentiates you from a mere animal and the beast. God is not demanding the same thing from them because they were not created in God's image. A life without true worship of God is a waste, unprofitable. The duty of worshiping God is all that distinguishes man from the animal species. That is, a life of any man without the true worship of God is a complete, unprofitable, unacceptable, a waste, unfulfilled life. May you not live an unfulfilled life. So, to worship God is to realize the purpose for which you are created in His image. So this is what our lesson 2 is focusing on today. Worshiping animals. Why are you different? Why are you special? Why are you so unique? Why are you so peculiar? Why has God placed a great price upon you? Because you were made in His image to be His worshiper. This is what God demands from you all the time. And for you to worship God, remember, you must maintain that nature of God in you. Worship is not meant for just any Jew can Harry. Worship is exclusively for those who are able to maintain the divine nature of God. A liar may think he's worshiping God. You are not retaining the nature of God. Your worship is in vain. A fornicator, your worship is in vain. A drunkard, your worship is in vain. Any unholy person, your worship is in vain. Because For you to worship God in an acceptable way, you have to maintain that divine nature of God in you. This is what we have learned again today in our lesson 2. I believe you are blessed with this, and I believe you well understand this very topic. I thank God for that. Let me leave you with these questions, and I believe you can attempt them so that you evaluate your knowledge on this very important topic. The first question here is, who is a vain person before God? You should be able to define a vain person before God now. Who is a vain person? How can you have a fulfilled life on earth? What must you do? How can you live a fulfilled life? Is it when you build a house? Is it when you have your cars? Is it when you have your children? What makes your life a fulfilled one? Should be able to answer that question. And number 3, why was man created in God's image? Like I have done a lot of explanation of that. That shouldn't be any problem to you. Lot of explanation of that. That shouldn't be any problem to you. Answer these 3 questions before the next class, and I'll be expecting to receive your answers. Till then, when we shall be meeting again, I still remain your priest, Shepherd Priest Kolawole John. Let's meet again in the next class. Stay blessed.